Hey, what's going on everyone? Thank you for tuning into another JD channel video in which today we're working on the Integra, and I'm doing this as a two-part video, so stay tuned and see what's going on. Alright, so to get to the starter, first you gotta remove the intake, but very important, don't forget to disconnect the battery. I just took it out to charge it, so I just took it completely out. That needs two 10mm usually. I have the battery disconnect, so it's 13. So let's see here. So to take out the intake, which this depends if you still have the stock intake. The intake tube, you'd use one really sharp, small Phillips. Insert it right here to loosen it out. Then after that, you're going to use some pliers to remove the hoses, which I'll do in a second. So now with the stock intake loose, after you remove the clamp right here, you're going to use a pair of pliers, which I'll zoom in so you guys see. You're going to use a set of pliers to remove that hose that's in the stock intake. Obviously it'll be different if you have aftermarket. Let's see right here. Use the pliers to remove this. See, it just comes right off. Good set of pliers helps out a lot. I have the factory strut bar somebody sold me, so this is a little harder to get to, but that's okay. Just going to take the hose out. That should have been, actually, it's already off the hose. I'm just going to pull it. See, it pulls right out. You should have seen that. Pulls out. Now we're going to take out the intake tube. You do not have to take out the boot and the filter, just the tube to access the starter, and actually I'm also going to access the thermostat while I'm in there. The intake tube, the front part just comes off, it's not even clamped on, it's just a spring. Pull this out once it's loosened. Yeah, a lot easier without the strut bar. Strut bar does a lot though. Goes there. Come on. Ooh, and the clamp fell. Well, it's on the ground. I'll get that later. Okay, now we're going to pull this out. Once everything was loose and disconnected. Why it's stuck. And there is a hose on top of it that you might want to remove out of its kind of holder just to make it easier. Jeez, this is thin on. I've been removed in a while. Alright, so I got this out, which because of that U shape, which I don't know if they're all like that, to make it easier I kind of had to twist it around kind of like this because the strut bar's in the way. With the battery out it's easier. I don't know if it's going to be as easy with the battery in, but at least that's out. You leave the stock airbox in there, the box itself, and then now we're going to access the starter itself, which is under there. Zoom in, and focus. Okay, so the starter is located underneath. Actually, I guess you can't see it from that angle. Let's see if you can see it here. I do it from the front of the car. Okay, not very easy either. Starter is right there. So what we're first going to do is remove the bolt on the top, which I believe is a 10, and then there's two 14s on the side. We'll try to see if I can put this or something in the wheel, or let's see here. It's like weird under there. I'm going to zoom out just to kind of show using it. So first we're going to use the 10. Use the 10 millimeter to remove the bolt here on the top that holds the connector. Which I am going to access the thermostat, which is down here as well. Right where that kind of, see here where my finger is. See that right there, that sensor? I'm going to pull that out of the thermostat housing. But I'm going to do that after. I'm going to try to take the starter without taking that out yet. If I have to, I might, because I'm going to do it anyway. So I need to service that. So we're going to use a 10 millimeter deep socket to remove, let's see if I can focus on it, to remove the bracket here on top of the starter. Where's my, oh, there's this. So it's on top of the starter, which the starter is right there. See, this bolt here is 10 millimeter. We're going to use the deep socket to take it out. So I'll join you as soon as I take that out. So what I did actually is I removed the lower radiator hose from the thermostat housing to give me some room, because I'm taking out the thermostat anyway. So earlier I showed you that there was a 10 millimeter here, and just to give you a perspective, because this is the distributor, underneath the distributor in this area there's a 14 here, pretty much underneath the thermostat housing in that area. And then the back here, like right back here, which is easy because the intake and the battery's out, right in the back on the bottom there's a 14. Because mine is the original, that was a pain in the butt to remove, so I'm going to take it out right now. And then this is a ground. This surprisingly was a 12. I would have figured this was a 10 because the bracket here was a 10. But oh well. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to yank out the starter, which like I said, make yourself some room, especially if you have the strut bar. I don't want to take out the strut bar because I had to make these kind of screws come out because I didn't have the mount points, unlike the GSR and the Type R. So I'm going to take it out right now and I'll show you what the end result looks like before we get it tested and I find a new one or rebuild this. Let's see. Alright, after all that fighting, this is kind of what you're left with. I wish that this camera would let you focus while you're not, while you're filming, but there is a connector on the bottom here, which it actually just fell out when I tried to pull this out. The hardest part of this thing is really just the bottom bolt right here, which is like this, kind of like your other alternator or other bolts. This is probably the original based on how it looks, so wasn't surprised. Where is the other bolt? So that is the top. Oh, crud. Okay, so I think I lost the bolt for the ground. I'll find another one for that hopefully. This is the top bolt. So the top bolt is the shorter one. This is right near under the distributor slash by the thermostat housing. This one is underneath on the left side of the starter. Then of course you had the bolt for the wiring bracket. It goes here. I'm going to take this off just in case they don't have it when I get one, or I might rebuild this just to see what it's like to rebuild one. There is the, I don't know, I'll decide if I just want to get the AutoZone one where I have to go up the core, or if I want to get a different one from eBay and just rebuild this. This is where the ground goes, which I gotta find that freaking nut. That's okay. Then the plug. So those are the main things. Obviously the bracket, the ground, the plug, then the bolts, and you get the alternator out. One heavy paperweight. Whew. He's a pain in the butt. in my case, like I said, it's a lot easier because I am going to take out the thermostat housing, and I took out the battery. So taking out the lower hose made a big difference for some room. I would only do that if you really needed to. The airbox you do not have to take out because mine's still in here. And then of course I'm going to take out the thermostat housing in a different video, do bars leak after starter's installed. Starter installation is obviously just backwards, so that should be good.